about 3 other pupils that I would tutor in Hebrew. I say Hebrew, I didn't teach them the Hebrew language, just we learned Chumash, you know. I was good at that part, you know, so I taught them that and how to praying and things like that.
And so, what was happening in Hungary? I mean, since they were in the newspaper business.
Obviously, the war was on naturally, you know, and I became slowly as I lived there. I got to know the city a little bit more. You go out in the street, and I became more aware of the situation. And we know, I knew, beginning to realize more and more that I have to be very careful. And them too, you know, the family. And you began to feel the atmosphere and the on the streets, and especially with your neighbors, that it's not the same, that there is trouble brewing.
How did you feel that?
Well, I felt, what now? Where do I go? What do I go from now? What do I do? And matter of fact, even for about 3 months, I also could see the living quarters. Not that I was used to anything, God knows, good, but I would sleep in a cot, and the cot would be set up at night. There was only like, you only had like a kitchen and 1 bedroom. The toilet was in the hallway. And at night you have to set up, the husband would come home late, or he would leave very early in the morning because he would go and pick up the papers because he would sell them on the streets. And it was very, very inconvenient. It was very thinking. I felt maybe I should try something else, but I knew I couldn't get a job. I started to go around. I spoke pretty good Hungarian already. Not perfect, but pretty good. And I started to looking around and getting a job, and I couldn't get a job. So, because I could only go certain places where I thought I would be safe, more or less. So I wound up to be a trainee, to be a tailor. And the same thing, trainee, they didn't get paid, you know, but it was a Polish family, and I made some sort of arrangement. They knew, I told them my problems and whatever, what I'm trying to do. And I says I don't have really a home. In other words, I need, so we made a deal. They were going to give me food. So I figured I don't have to depend on food of my aunt, because, like I said, she was an aunt 2 or 3 times removed. And they would also give me a little money on the side.
What kind of papers were you carrying?
I only had papers from back home. That's the only thing I had. I had nothing else.
How were you identified as a Jew?
It says on it right there.
What did you have to wear?
If at that time, and I didn't wear no, at that time I didn't wear nothing. And besides that, I don't even think it had to say on it, Shlomo Berkovich, you know you're not Hungarian. There's no way. So I went there, and I worked there for about 3 months. And then the only thing I would do, it was go to my aunt. I would sleep over there. I was there 3 months, and I didn't like it. First of all, again, the same thing. The apartment where they lived was right next to the shop, and it was like together. and they would tease me. The tailors, they were working, he had about 4 tailors working for him at that time. And they would tease me. And he had 2 daughters, and they also would, I don't remember exactly how they were teasing me, but anyway, at one time, my job, they taught me how to iron. I was ironing. I was pretty good at ironing already, and I was ironing, they were doing ironing, and the girls and the women, whatever, I would have to iron their clothes too. In other words, not only the clothes that were worked in the tailor shop, but I would have to iron their clothes. And it was kind of funny. Like I said, I was a very shy boy. I was still a shy boy. And I first of all, like woman underwear, I never even saw before. Never mind, you know, because we didn't. My grandmother didn't. You know, they didn't. I didn't, and that's why they would tease me. You know, and the 2 girls, they found out, you know, that I'm embarrassed, and they would tease me even more. So, the one time that I just about had it, I said, I can't take it anymore. And so the girl brings me the underwear. I should press her underwear. And the guy started teasing me again, and it came to, I just couldn't take it anymore. I just took the iron, put it on the underwear, left it there. And I left the place. I knew they're going to throw me out because the underwear got burned through and through, you know. So I knew they're going to throw me out anyway.
So where did you go?
I just left, and I went back to that aunt there, you know. And I started helping him, pushing a little bit the newspaper. You know, I said, I want to do something. So I helped him, and that came almost to the end of 41, just about in the middle of 41, going the right away to the beginning of 42. Again, like I mentioned before, sometimes you thought you have neighbors, friends, you know, you can trust. And they had neighbors, she had neighbors like right next door. It was a big apartment house, you know, on the same floor, and there was this single woman there. I don't know what happened, how all of a sudden the police came. For me, they knew I'm there.
Which police was it?
The Budapest. They knew I'm there. Now, how did they know I'm there? Later on, we thought that that woman, you know, she must have reported it, because the only way the police would know that I'm there is if somebody reported it, and that had to be somebody who knew who I am and why and whatever.
So what happened when the police came?
So the police came and they took me to jail. And they put me in jail. I was there for not too long, maybe 3 weeks.
And then what happened?
And they were going to take me from the conversation and the thing there, they were going to take me to some sort of a labor camp. We didn't know exactly what or how, but that time it was getting pretty bad already. We had no idea what's going to happen, but they said the people in there, what they usually do is they take these people to put them into some sort of a labor camp.
How many people were with you in jail?
Well, we had a jail, and it must have been about 8 people in that room. The jail was a big jail. We would go out in the courthouse, you know, but in that room we were like 8 people. And
How many
of course
Jews?
no facilities, no bedroom facilities. And
How many Jews were there?
I think I was the only one.
What were the other people in prison
Who were for all kinds of things. And they were telling me, you know, that you're a Jew, oh man, you know, all kinds of things.
And how were you treated?
Like a jailbird. No special beatings or anything like that, but they were rough, you know, naturally, and we slept on the floor here, nothing, no facilities, nothing. And sure enough, after about 3 weeks, they took me, wherever they're going to take me. And they took me to a train station. They were going to put me in a boxcar and whatever they were putting the thing in. And at that time already, I could see it's not too good, you know. So now I'm thinking what to do. So before realizing, or not to give it too much thought, the first chance I had, I just snuck away. I took off in the train station and went to the other train, right across, you know, going the other direction.
And where did you go?
And I was able to get on the train. And of course, the ticket, you know, they came for tickets. I didn't have any ticket. I tried to hide, you know, but I didn't get any tickets. So the next town where we came to, they put me down. So now I'm on the station there, I don't know. So the, sure enough, exactly how, but loitering or whatever, the police there, you know, they must have been looking out, and now they catch me. But then, so they asked me, I says, so I gave them my paper, I'm from Slatina. What are you doing here? You know, making up some story, you know, what I'm doing here. So what they did is they shipped me back to Slatina. This is exactly what I wanted, to bring me back there. So they took, I don't know how many days, you know, by train, you go from police every time, you know, the thing. And that's how I wound up back in Slatina.
And what did you find when you went back?
Things were worse. The situation was very bad because, again, there was very little money, very little work, and at that time already people beginning to realize that the situation is bad. And that's all really. And now I was back there again in '42. And that time I got some big beatings over there in the police station because I ran away, you know. Of course I didn't tell them where I was in Budapest, and I was going to tell them that. So I hung around there, almost a year, or close to it.
Doing what, Mr. Berry? What were you doing then?
I don't know what I was doing. I was still a young guy, I was still a young boy. I was only, 18, 19 years old.
What organizations were still functioning?
I know I became very active in the Harold scene.
What kind of activities were there?
Went to all the meetings because my grandmother already, first of all, I was already a bigger boy, you know, I didn't listen so much of what she said, and then she didn't know most of the time anyway what she was saying, but I actually only used that to sleep over, and even there I wouldn't sleep over all the time because I was afraid, you know, whatever, they might come for me again. And I became, when I say active, distributing literature, you get flyers, you know.
In regard to what? What were they?
To become a Zionist. And that's basically it. You know.
Who was in charge of that organization?
No names. I have no names.
How many boys?
I can't remember. I know we were quite a few boys and girls my age belonging to the Harold scene, you know. Like I said, I used to go to the Mizrahi too because of less of anything else to do, and I felt safer over there. But the Mizrahi was a more upper class, so to speak. I don't know how to explain. Somehow the richer kids went to the Mizrahi.
And how did you feel when you were with those kids?
Well, I felt safer. That's why I like to go there. I felt safer between them. But I did not, the Mizrahi, I did not particularly care because, maybe because I'm more better to do kids than my friends. That's the only thing I can think of, because they were, for some reason, they were better to do. I don't know. But they would also have meals or something. They would give you something. Always, you know, you went to Mizrahi meeting, you would get something, you know. The Halutzim, that was the workers' party, so to speak.
And this Mizrahi, what was their platform? What did their flyers?
Well, to tell you the truth, I really wasn't that much. I really didn't understand that much the differences between the Mizrahi and the Halutzim. Only thing I knew is the Mizrahi were more religious oriented. They stressed religion where the Halutzim they did not. That, you know, that's why also I preferred to go to the Halutzim, because we would dance, you know, things like that. So I was there till about, like I say, almost the end of 42. And that's, again, they came one night, and I used to sleep with my friends. I used to sleep all over. And they took me again. And that time, that was already serious stuff. They took me to a labor camp.
And where was that?
And that was in Nagyvárad. That was it's in Hungary. It's closer to the. It's not too far from the Slovakian border, from Czechoslovakia. That time it was Czechoslovakia. And they took me to a labor camp, and there was only me and another boy from Slotino. But when we got there, there was a mixture of all kinds of people from all over, and not only young and old.
How were you transported?
By train.
How long did it take you to get there?
I spent so much time on trains, hiding illegally, that it must have been at least a week. And even though it's not far, because they didn't take regular train, you know. They would take boxcars, you know, and then wherever it would go from town to whatever, you know, then go someplace else. Sometimes going backwards and then going back, you know. So they whatever, I guess, whether they did it for a reason or not, I don't know.
And when you arrived, where did you say you were?
In Nagyvárad.
And what was the name of the camp?
There was no special name.
What kind of camp was it?
It was, what they would do is they would make us do like road work. They had, there was some sort of a factory, but I didn't even, we never got inside the factory. We were only outside. And they made us do cleaning and things like that, and mostly repairing the roads, doing the road work. And I guess at that time already, it was already closely associated, the Hungarian army, because it became like army supervised. It wasn't a private. Once we got there, it was taken over, you know, the army were in charge.
Who was in charge on your way to that camp?
That was the police, the Hungarian police. But once we got there, it was taken over by when I say taken over, I mean we could tell it was already the military. But there was Hungarian military.
And
but we could tell that they were closely, because once in a while we would see German officers and German soldiers, whatever. They would come there, and I guess they would tell them what they want us to do. And what we started to prepare at that time, they were preparing already, you know, the roads. We would do a lot of digging, either digging or taking out, or they would want to have certain certain fields cleared for whatever reason, and that's what we were doing.
What kind of place were you in? What kind of place were you sleeping in?
It was like a big, what should I describe the building? It was like, it wasn't a barn. It was a little bit better than a barn. It was just like a big building, of course, no heat or anything like that, but a big barn, and they had on one side there, they had like a big long thing, you know, where we could go and wash once in a while, you know, and then you know, and that was it. And we would have I never got rid of like a little ladle. No, not a ladle. It was like a little metal can what I had, what we used to use for food. And I would always have that hanging there with a spoon. That I would never get rid of it, because we never knew when they're gonna decide to give us food.
How many people were with you?
At that time, in that camp, there must have been about 100 people.
And from where were they?
From all over Hungary. They were Jews. Then there already we started to get some gypsies. Up to that point, I didn't have no contact with gypsies. There already, but funny, not funny, there were some other guys there too, you know, they would pay them something. At the end of the week, they would get paid. They wouldn't pay us. They were, out of that group, there might have been maybe 15 Jews, you know, out of the whole group. There wasn't a lot of Jews there. Out of the whole group, maybe 15 Jews. And they would not pay us anything, but the other people, they would.
Who was paying them?
They would pay them something. I don't know. I wouldn't call it pay.
Who was
the military, I guess. They were in charge there. I don't know who was the actual pay. You know.
And so, how was everybody treated?
You had to do your work, and if you did your work, it wasn't too bad. Except there was always exceptions. If they would get drunk or things like that, then you better stay out of their way. If they caught you, if you were in their way, whether they had a reason or not, you know, they would just do whatever, kick you, beat you, not whatever they could do, just for the fun of it.
Was that just the Jews, or was it everybody?
Everybody. That there was no exception. The only exception they made is the other guys, they got paid something. I don't know.
And so, what kind of work were you doing?
Basically, mostly cleaning street work, cleaning street, cleaning fields, digging trenches, things like that. They would have, sometimes they would make us, they had vehicles there, military vehicles, they would make us clean them or whatever they needed.
And so how long were you kept there?
I was there, we were there for, maybe a half a year or so. Then they transferred us to Miskolc, which was a bigger city, but we didn't go into the city. We were outside the city, and over there, they had like a brick building where they put us in, a big brick building, and very much similar work, but outside of Miskolc, outside of the city, very much similar, except over here we had more street cleaning and tearing down little old shacks or whatever they didn't think they need or whatever, and cleaning the stuff, bringing this here, whatever, things like that, things of that nature, and they kept us busy.
What did you know about what was happening in Poland?
Only from rumors.
What kind of rumors?
That Germany, at that time they were saying that the German army is already near Moscow and they're going to take over, or Poland was taken, and you know, because we didn't have access to newspapers or at that time there, we didn't even have access to a radio. So once in a while, like I said, they would get drunk or something, or some of them would be boasting, you know. And they wouldn't tell us, but they would tell some of the guys, some of the other people there, and it would filter down, like, you know, it would come. And of course, I would imagine sometimes either it gets exaggerated or it gets minimized.
So when you got to Miskolc, how many additional men were with you there?
We were about the same group. They took the whole, whatever they called it, a battalion or whatever.
And how was everybody getting along, considering the fact that some were Jews and some were gypsies?
Surprisingly, not bad. The only thing you had to watch out for if you owned anything. If you had, not that we had much, but if you had anything at all, and if you didn't hang on to it, that's why I said I would never get rid of that thing, because I go to sleep, you know, somebody might take it for whatever reason. It wasn't a big value, but it was a necessary.
What were they feeding you? What were they feeding you?
Well, most of the time, breakfast was oh man, what is it?
While you're thinking, we're going to change to.
Okay, what